How does your family prevent men from growing? Yes, this is the hot question and the hot topic that we are going to dive right into the center of the fire together and explore. If you're new here, welcome to the Man on Fire Rising podcast. I am the host and the creator of Man on Fire. All right, so how does family prevent us from growing? Well, stay tuned because it's really the third type of family that has a lot to do with why men are not growing. But the first family is the family that we were born into. Now, many men out there recognize that, oh my God, I didn't necessarily have the mother that I wanted or the father that I wanted, or I was given up for adoption, or my father might have passed away when I was younger, or maybe my father left my mother. Lots of different hurts, lots of different wounds, lots of different betrayals. And most of you may know at this point, especially if you've been following the Man on Fire Rising podcast, that we are afforded this unbelievable opportunity to work through generational patterns, meaning your father might have had a pattern, your father's father might have had a pattern. Maybe it was around money, maybe it was around women, and all of a sudden you're here to either repeat that pattern or you're going to work that pattern all the way through and take it into the gift rather than be the victim of your circumstance. Well, this is the family I was born into. These are the hurts I was handed. These are the wounds I was handed. These are the patterns I was handed. There's nothing I could do about it. You know, my father had cancer, my father's father had cancer, or my father had cardiovascular disease. His father had cardiovascular disease, and many of you are taught, well, then that's what's going to happen to you. And the answer is no, it's not, because there is scientific proof that the things that happen to us are really epigenetics, which means it sits above the gene. What does that mean in English? It means that we are more a product of our environment, more so than our DNA. But with that said, we do inherit energetic familial patterns that we have the opportunity to work through. So, for example, one of my father's main patterns as a man was he felt pressured by time, he felt pressured by money. He never separated his self worth from his net worth. And when his net worth started to fade, what ended up happening was that he literally manifested dementia. So I know that I have to work through that pattern. Otherwise, I'll repeat that pattern. If I make the same choices as my father, if I think the way my father thinks, if I behave the way my father behaved, then it stands to reason I might end up with the same exact outcome. So, number one, how does family prevent men from growing? Well, many of us don't ever get past our family patterns. But that's not even what we're talking about on today's podcast. So, what's the second thing that we need to recognize? Well, first is that family that you were born into, but then the second one is the family that we create. So many of you out there listening most likely got married and had kids. So you're creating this family. And what's the problem? Well, the problem is the enormity of pressure that sits upon a man's shoulders. It is almost impossible for a woman to fully understand and fully get the magnitude of what it's like for a man to provide, to protect, to still have time to be present for her, be present for the kids, still crush it at work, let alone find any time for myself. No wonder men have so much stress, so much tension, so much pressure, so many strokes, so many heart attacks, cardiovascular disease. More than ever, men are the ones that are committing suicide, and it's very, very, very sad for us as men. So we have this family that we're creating. So how does it prevent us from growing? Well, it doesn't really, other than the fact that you can't really lay this burden on your wife, meaning the burden of the tension, the stress that you carry as a man, like what's going on at work, and oh my God, what if I lose my job, or what if the economy goes down, and like all this pressure, you can't put that on your wife. Why? Because number one, she won't feel safe. Number two, she might lose respect for you. Number three, you can't put it on your children because they'll see dad as weak. So you really have nowhere to go with all this bottled up stress that's eating away at you. And what do most men do? They disappear into the cave. They disappear into the garage. They disappear into the basement. They say, oh, once I get this figured out, then I'll come up for air. And most guys never get it figured out because they play the lone wolf. They don't ever ask for help. They see asking for help as a sign of weakness, which couldn't be further from the truth if you listen to one of my previous podcasts. So what's a man to do? Well, what most men do is they end up turning to porn. They end up turning to weed. They end up turning to alcohol. They end up turning to, let me just work harder. Let me put in more hours. Let me try to make more money. Let me have an affair. Let me go to a strip club. Let me go to massage parlors. Let me just tune into social media. Let me watch TV. Let me listen to podcasts. And they just bury themselves in all these distractions. Why? Because they can't bring it to the family that they created. There's nowhere to go with this pressure. There's nowhere to go with this tension, which is why, and this is what this podcast is all about, where I said, how does family prevent us from growing? Well, it's because most men, sadly, have not formed the third family. And the third family is essential. The third family is a band of brothers. It's a tribe. It's a group of men that you walk side by side with. It's, picking men that will give it to you real and raw and straight, men that you can cry with, laugh with, bleed with, men that will fight beside you and for you, men that will hold you accountable, men that will hold you to the fire of your greatness. Most of us don't have that. Most of us have, as a part of that second family, which is the family we create, we also have like friends, and we have guy friends. And those are the guy friends that maybe we're drinking with. Those are the guy friends that maybe we reminisce on the past and had all the good times with. Maybe it's the guy friends that we're more immature with, but we don't dare tell them the truth of what's really going on in our life. Hey, how you doing today, Jim? Great. Family's falling apart. Kids don't talk to me. Wife is considering leaving me. I think she's having an affair and my business is going under. Do guys say that to one another? No. They just say, good. How you doing? Good. Yeah. How are things? Good. So we don't have a family that we can unload on. We don't have a family that we could unburden ourselves and talk about this stuff with. So it is essential for men to find themselves a brotherhood. Get into a group of men where you can be seen, you could be heard, you could be acknowledged, you could be vulnerable, you could be exposed, you could be raw, you could be real, you could talk about what's really going on. And even more importantly, you can be held accountable. You can be held to the fire of your true potential. You could be championed. Men that are invested in wanting to see you grow, men that are invested in wanting to see you rise, men that are invested in helping you achieve your full potential, men that are invested in helping you become that awakened, integrated man that we talked about in a previous podcast, men that will champion you and lift you and celebrate all of your successes. We don't have that in the other families that we've created. So the original question about how does family prevent men from growing, for most men, it's because we didn't actually choose our third family yet. Thank God I've chosen a third family. Thank God I have brothers and I got guys on my team that are holding me accountable, holding me to the fire. Why? Because men are always here to grow. We're either growing or we're shrinking and contracting. We're either growing or we're hiding. We're either growing or, truth be told, we're dying. And most men fall into the rut of complacency. They live a life of neutrality. And next thing you know, after neutrality, they go even further down. So, how does family prevent men from growing? It's the family that you still haven't chosen. Now, for those of you listening and have been a part of the Man on Fire Rising podcast, there'll be plenty of links in a lot of our podcasts where you can apply to come to one of our events. And we are one of the men, one of the brotherhoods out there, one of the cultures out there that you could be a part of, where you could be championed, you could be held to the fire so that you could rise with more passion, more power, and more purpose in your life. And if you have another brotherhood out there, great. It's important that you get amongst men that won't just sit there and placate and sugarcoat it. There are too many men that are just like not giving it to one another real and raw. And what men really need from men is, hey, brother, see me for who I am. Hold me to the fire of my greatness. Don't let me bail. Hold me accountable. Hold me to my potential. I need this. My soul needs this. My family needs this. My kids need this. My legacy needs this. So, thank you for tuning in to today's podcast about what are the reasons, or how does family prevent a man from really growing? Well, now you know. It's the family that we as men never fully created. Now, some of you are listening, oh no, but I have good friends. I'm able to talk to them. Let me be clear about something. There's a huge difference in talking about your problems where you have a compassionate listener, but that's different than somebody saying, so what are you going to do about it? And then when you say what you're going to do about it, they hold you to actually following through. See, friends don't do that. Friends allow one another, excuse my French, to bitch. Friends allow one another to complain, to bitch, to dump our problems on each other. Maybe you sit on a therapist's couch and you're just talking and talking and talking and talking about your problem. No offense to any therapists out there, but that's not going to move the needle. What's going to move the needle? Well, we know that iron sharpens iron. We know that men need challenge. Men need to be supported. Men need to be championed. Men need to be held accountable to the fire. So for the brother out there that's listening, and you want to know how has your family prevented you from growing, it's probably because either you're still in the wounding of complaining about the family you were born into, which means you're hiding and using excuses. And I'm not minimizing the severity of what you were born into. But I know the greater the wound, the greater the gift you're here to bring the world. But the real reason is it's the family that you probably still haven't formed yet. And that is the family of brothers that you associate with that will hold your ass to the fire. because you are a man on fire. All right, gentlemen, here is to you rising with passion, with power, and a deep sense of purpose. It is your man on fire mentor, Dave Mailer, signing off. Oh, one more thing. Make sure you put into the comments, or I invite you to put into the comments, what's one takeaway that you got from this? Do you have a brotherhood that you associate with? That's different than just going to temple and talking to your rabbi, or going to church and talking to the pastor, or sitting in a group. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. Do you have a band of brothers? Do you have a tribe? Do you have a brotherhood that holds your ass to the fire? Put it into the chat. Let me know, and I will see you guys soon. And if you know anyone that could benefit from our podcast, please, please, please share it with them. All right, guys, so much love. If you like what you're seeing and hearing, then hit that like button and subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so you'll know the next episode has dropped.